What is up everyone, it's Joe from GGD and I'm here today with a bit of a longer video. I got some requests for some insight, some videos into how I go about using synth production layers, production elements, maybe orchestral elements in my music, and sort of in rock and metal in general. So I thought I'd do a video showing you my approach and sort of my thought process behind it all. So as you can see here, I've got 3 examples that I've just written and mixed very roughly. To show you what's going on, I've got the P5 Matt Halpern signature pack, just on the Wildfire full turbo preset, running directly out to a stereo instance. On the drum channel, I have Nolly's distressor parallel compression setting, and that's everything's running into an instrument bus which has again Nolly's VBC rack settings, so that's like a bit of squish, and then his sort of snare ducking thing he likes to do, and then obviously that goes into my master bus. Turn off my sound ID so that doesn't ruin everything. Into virtual mix rack, I've got another compressor here just to give some more gluiness, I guess, on the mix bus magic preset, and then just running into Pro L to boost some volume. Then bass wise, I'm just running Nolly bass on the heavy preset. So I've got like 3 different, well, kind of 2 different genres. I've got like a rock chorus, then a sort of it's kind of new metal actually, like a new metal-y riff, and then a sort of djenty breakdown thing. For the rock one, I'm using GGD Studio Cab's Gold Stack. You can see the settings there. For this sort of middle new metal-y one, I am using Zilla. And then for the gent one at the end, I'm using Kali. I've got a bit of EQ going on after the fact, but apart from that, everything else is pretty much just as it comes. So I'll play you the sort of 3 examples that I've written, and then we'll get into adding some layers into all of them. So first up is the rock one. So just a simple, nice chord progression, lots of space to add stuff into that. And then for the next example, we've got this. Then last but not least, the gent thing. Just adjusted the gate as that was playing, but yeah, so 3 pretty simple ideas. Something I should say is not every riff needs synths or production layers. I tend to use them quite a lot because my guitar skills aren't amazing. I'm not a good lead player, so all the riffs I tend to write are pretty simple, which leaves a lot of space for these added sort of elements that I love to put in. You know, if you're doing like really complicated riffs, they don't always need extra stuff. Sometimes they're sort of busy enough, interesting enough to stand up just by themselves. That being said, I think these 3 examples, there's definitely room to add things. So we're going to start focusing on the rock one. It's quite a big sort of epic chorus, you know? It's sort of slow, half-time feel, big sort of bright chords, and sort of a nice driving force behind it. So that's kind of where I'm thinking we want to start in thinking how we can reinforce it. I'm just going to hide these. Let's take a listen and I'll sort of tell you what I'm thinking. So I'm immediately hearing an arpeggio of some sort. So let's load up a MIDI track. And I think for this, I'm going to reach for a synth I use a lot from Xfer Records called Serum. If you're into sort of software synth, you'll no doubt have come across this. It's an extremely popular synth for sort of modern EDM productions. And it's something I love to use. So from default loading up, we've just got this saw wave, which isn't the sound we're going to go for, but I'm just going to use it to try and get some notes in, basically. So let's start with a root note. Da. That goes for 2. So it might sound weird to begin with, but I'll show you what I'm going to do. So that currently sounds like, which isn't what we want. But in Logic, we've got these MIDI effects things. We've got an arpeggiator plugin. I'm going to bring that down to 8th notes. So we'll just program with this for now and get the notes in. I'll just go through and kind of use my ear, basically. So I like that. Potentially go up an octave. Cool. So this being a sort of rock thing, we're not going to have this in the forefront. We want this to be a layer to support the riff and the chords. So I'm thinking perhaps some kind of plucked sound. That's very detuned. Just loop that. There's a kind of, some people don't like using presets. I get that in the sort of EDM world where the sort of sounds you're using are kind of your, you know, your identity. But we're just doing this for like song production layers, so don't worry about using presets. No one cares. It's about the finished product. I think this is a cool start. It's not too harsh. The attack isn't too much. It kind of sits back nicely, but I want to get maybe, I don't know if I want to go up an octave or add another octave range to the arpeggiator. Sounding cool, but I'm wondering if we can change something. What that is, I'm not sure. So now I'm going to just edit this. I want it to be a little bit brighter. I want it to maybe have some reverb, maybe some saturation, but we're going to mess around with it. The reason I want to do those things is because as it stands, these are too loud. Realistically, the volume's going to be somewhere like... somewhere around there, right? And it's getting kind of lost. So I'm going to go into here. I'm going to brighten up the reverb a bit. Bring the size down. I'm wondering if, like, it could be cool to do a really detuned saw wave under this. That's cool. So square wave. So square waves are good for like more bass frequencies. Especially if you bring that down an octave, you'll hear. If we bring that to the same and then detune it. So I'm going to look at adding some further reverb because I want it to blend more. I want a bit more of a high range glisten. So that's doing nothing. I'm going to load up Pro Q3 because we don't need any of this. Yeah, a little that's altering the sound. And I'm going to make a dynamic band here. Just to bring down those lower notes a bit, because they're just a little bit muddy. Cool, I'm happy with that. So I'm going to double that because we want it going throughout. I'm hearing space for like a pad, for sure. Get rid of you guys. For this, I'm going to try using a synth from Yuhi called Diva. This is an incredible sort of analog style software synth. It's pretty CPU heavy, but my God, does it sound good. Presets still. Something like that. You feel me? Yeah, that's what I'm hearing. Cool, so the mod wheel's doing some nice things there. Mess around with that. Hear that? So I'm going to go and record that in. And how are we looking? Yeah, get rid of these guys. Just bring that over. All right, so that should loop now. Try an octave up, see how that sounds. So that's creating a really nice sort of swell movement, which I'm enjoying. Coupled with that modulation sort of opening up, that reinforces that movement in a way that I find very pleasing. So if you've got like a double chorus like we have here, sometimes a good idea is to add something in the second repetition. So that would be in this area here. I'm thinking maybe like these are kind of all my go-to tricks. So perhaps not the most adventurous, but guaranteed to sound good. Omnisphere, another incredible synth between Serum, Omnisphere, and Diva. If you're going for like synths, in Omnisphere you've got added samples, which is cool. You kind of can't go wrong with that combination. Not the cheapest, but you've got your bases covered, basically. There's a patch on here that I use all the time called Ambient Space Piano. Really beautiful. And that works well for just picking out some notes from the chords, basically. You'll hear this on all my GGD playthroughs. And you just kind of put some notes in, it creates like a really some nice accents for the ear to pick out. Ba-da. Bum, bum. That's what I'm thinking. And then that will loop really nicely if you want to extend the chorus further for the final repetition. So I'm at a point now where it doesn't necessarily need more. I'm trying to think, is there anything else that could be cool to put in? I don't think so. There is a part of me that's wondering if just like a standard saw wave would be cooler on this. So if we just turn off the filter. You know, it works. Different kind of flavor. Cool, so I think I'm going to leave this there. So what we've done is we've added a nice arpeggio to create some sort of flow and movement combined with a nice elongated pad with a modulating filter to help create further movement and a feeling of momentum and like a swelling feeling. And then finally a keyboard, which I think adds... well, a change in the second repetition of the chorus for the ear to pick out to keep things fresh. And even like another melody, basically, we've added there. And I don't think there needs to be much more. So that's kind of what I would do for something like that. You know, you could add in some rhythmic textures, but I think that would be edging towards too much. Especially if, you know, we're in a band setting here and there are going to be vocals on top. The vocals will dictate a lot of what needs to be put in or not. Once you've got all the vocals in, you may find it necessary to actually get rid of some layers you've added. But that's sort of a taste and also like a spectrum thing. You know, you don't want loads of synth layers crowding up the high end where all the vocals may be, or equally in the low end where the bass is sort of handled. But yeah, so that's what I would do for the rock chorus. Moving on to this one, which is the kind of new metal-y, riffy guy. Also, immediately what I heard was it'd be cool to add something in the second repetition, which is more of a melody line, kind of weird chromaticness. But what synth shall we use? Maybe Omnisphere? Let's just get the notes in first. So it's not chromatic at all, actually. But you can kind of hear what I'm going for. And now I want it to like be an elongated sound with a bit of modulation and it to sound a bit creepy like. So let's look at the synth long presets. None of these are tickling my fancy. Jesus. fluty colors. That sounds interesting. I like that. It's creepy. But I think it needs some distortion because it's too clean sounding and it's not really blending nice. So I'm going to go... My go-to when doing sound design for distortion is always decapitator. Distortion, saturation, whatever. Sick, but there's some weird thing going on that I don't like. I might try putting soothe on this. If you don't know, soothe basically takes out ringing frequencies. That's pretty extreme. If we put a reverb on after that, for that I'm actually going to reach for Sound Toys. Shoot, what's it called? The big version of Little Plate. Super Plate. That sounds sick. So I'm happy with where that is at the moment. So being new metal, I'm thinking we could try and like put in some kind of like DJing, scratching kind of sound. What I have used previously with good results is Serum, but basically turning off the oscillators. So if I play this, nothing. But it's got this cool noise generator, which has this pitch option. So you can kind of like, if I turn that to the mod wheel, you can kind of mimic a turntable-y kinda sound effect. Not totally, but I think it's kind of cool. So, and there's loads of different sounds in this. So this is actually like a cymbal looped. So some really cool options here. I'm gonna maybe even less necessary. That's pretty cool. So now I'm gonna go in and record a rhythm. don't like that one. That was all, there was some input lag. And then I'm going to quantize it to 16th notes. Sounds, I don't know if that's too much. Maybe just doing in the spaces is a better idea. God, the input lag makes it sound so out of time. What are those doing? Don't know, this might be really lame sounding. We'll find out. Now I want to get that pitch drop in. So I'm going to automate that by hand, I think. So bring this up to full, and I'm just gonna so like on this guy. Let's see how that sounds. You hear me? That might be too much. Copy that over to here. And we may do the opposite for this one. Go up in pitch. So just kind of following what I think is going to sound good. There's kind of no real science behind it. Just messing around with the rhythms. And what I think's cool to accent the riff. I think that's all that's needed. I'm not huge on this sound, basically, so let's look at what other ones there are. a different reverb. I think it's cool. I don't think it's super lame. I want it to be a wider sound, so I'm going to... What do I have that can do that, actually? I wonder what a ring mod would sound like on this. Hello. There we go. That's what I'm talking about. Cool. I really like that. I'm kind of hearing like something to like hit on dun, dun, ding on this snare. Something. What that something is, I don't know. I'm thinking like a Slipknot keg effect, but I don't know what with. First thing I want you to do is change that to sample, turn up that. Okay. So let's have a look here. I mean, yeah, metals, metallic overtones, metallic resonators, metallics. Cool, but it's way low pitch. I want to see what happens if I boost this up loads. Okay. That's cool. Actually, let's try and do it all within this. I'm thinking drown it in reverb and delay. So that's super quick. Am I being stupid? Yes, I am. This is where I need to change it. I like that. How often to put it in though? That's kind of cool, but we won't keep that in. I think we're at the place where we can leave that. So, added a creepy melody here, added some rhythmic textures, which is kind of genre appropriate, mimicking a kind of turntable thing, and then made this kind of metallic thing to accent the snare on the first snare every 4 bars, basically. And that's just going to help the, like, I don't know, for me it helps a feeling of it like landing. It just really accents it and makes it feel heavier and like it's really sort of in your face. One thing you could do is this kilohertz, sorry. It's called the trance gate because it's literally what it is. It's a gate where you can change the rhythm and it creates like trancey stutters. You know, that's cool too. Add a bit of rhythm to it. Put it before the reverb. Nice, I like that. It's kind of hard to describe or like explain exactly what I'm going for thinking wise. It's kind of just an instinct of what you think the soundscape is kind of missing, and then how you can add that in an appropriate way that doesn't take away from the riff or the melody itself. For this Agenti guy, so I think it could be fun to actually kind of do something similar to what we did here, but create like a snare reverb explosion. Dun 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 ka. So let's just bounce that down. So what I'm thinking here is I want to, there's a lot of space here to add something like a sustained sound, maybe a pad, maybe a texture, just a creepy texture. Want to reinforce this snare again. And I'm thinking perhaps some kind of riser through this second repetition to increase the tension and the kind of anticipation of it ending. But first, snare bomb. Don't need any of the dry signal here. Don't like how that's sounding. So instead of just fighting with it, just use a different reverb. Immediately way better for this. Just copy it to there. Want some more high end in that? So I'm taking out the lows so we can bring it up in volume. Probably a bit too long, to be fair. I think that's good enough. Oops, that's too soon. There we go. I want some kind of riser in the last bar here. Some kind of creepy sound. Something like that. But what shall we use to find a noise like that? Like a air raid siren almost. Trons and optical? That could work with a bit of reverb on. Probably some distortion too. Let's be real. So I like where it's sat, but I want to layer like a lower octave under it. I could just go in and put the note, but something that works really well is using Soundtoys again. Little Alter Boy. I love this plugin to bits for loads of reasons. It's a fantastic pitch shifter. You've got these different modes. The robot one's really cool. But this drive knob sounds so nice. You can use it for a bunch of different things. I've used it on vocals and snares before, like saturation. But let's try layering a lower octave here. See what I mean? That sounds really cool. I wonder what happens if we just use a limiter to crush it. So much of what I do is just messing around. So we're gonna actually we're gonna link him because we don't want to blow our ears off. Boring. Let's try FabFilter Saturn. Well, let's try some delay and reverb on it. Let's just go to Sound Toys again, because I want it to sound massive, you know? So, thinking, let's just go Junior. So in my head, I'm imagining this to kind of sound like an air raid siren. So I'm wanting to get that massive sort of distance on the sound. So I'm just tweaking the settings I've dialed in, basically. In context, I'm thinking that lower octave is a bit too overpowering, so I'm just messing with the settings here to try and balance that out more. That sounds cool. Reverb. So what we heard then was, because I raised the pitch of this first one, it didn't come back in time for the second one. That's something that often catches me out. So we need to make sure we bring that pitch down. Otherwise, the beginning of the note, when it comes back around, is going to be raised already, which is not what we want. I raised the octave on the second one. On the second repetition, sorry. Just to add a bit of variation. Copy that across. And to raise the tension further. We want it to be tense and heavy and disconcerting. That's sounding pretty cool. That's off time. So let's go to Serum again. Then they've got this sequence, right? Oh! That's crazy. That's all from the one synth, man. So I might have to add the rhythm myself, because I'm not vibing any of these. Change that to an octave bend. Decrease the amount we are bending by. Obviously, this is way too much. I'm going to alter it, but... Sounding pretty cool and dark. I want to add some like stereo movement. So a really good plugin for that is Sound Toys again. Pan Man. Didn't mean to add that. I meant to add a little plate. So adding reverb here just to take some of the abrasion of it off. So let's listen from the beginning, see if we think we're missing anything. So this is a really sick tool. It's called LFO tool by Xfer. And what I use it for, it's basically a volume automation, a repeated volume automation based on this curve. So it's really useful for mimicking side chaining on a synth, but without having to set up all the, like, you need the trigger source and then the side chaining on a compressor and stuff. This does it for you. Cool. I reckon we're in a pretty good place with this. Definitely need some gnarly hits and rises. So what I love to use, this plugin library by Audio Imperia has a bunch of amazing sound design elements that are just crazy. So the hits. That's the one. They are pretty nuts sounding. You have to kind of guess a bit on the timing. Way late. Let's bring it back, see how it sounds on the bar. Too early. The rises in this library are also insane. What are we doing? Just clicking all the random things. There we are. Okay, let's listen to that. We're sounding pretty good. I reckon we could do a bit of a gnarlier distortion on these. Yeah, we're in a good place. We're in a happy place. So, I think we're done, you guys. You can kind of see-ish my thought process. So it's about analyzing what space there is. That's both frequency space, melodic space, and rhythmic space. That's basically the three things we're looking to fill, potentially. There's also something to be said for leaving space. So that's always worth keeping in mind. But I feel like we've kind of got some interesting things here. In this one, we've really got melodic space. This one, we've definitely got sort of rhythmic space. This one's more just like creating a sense of dread. So this is more purely sound design as opposed to like synth work. You know what I mean? So let's just listen through. So here we have filling melodic space. Rhythmic space. And then just kind of sound design. Well, there you go, guys. This is how I approach my song production, basically. I hope it gives you some ideas about what you might be able to do into your music. And I feel like I didn't do loads of explaining, but it's one of those things where it's like, there's no real theory behind it. It's kind of just following your gut. So I really encourage you to experiment. All these ideas have just come from messing around to a point where I've kind of built up like an instinct about what I think things need. And by amassing a selection of tools, I'm able to create the sounds that I want to hear that are in my head, in my DAW for the song. So I hope that was useful to some extent. And thank you very much for watching. The GGD products used in this video can of course be picked up from getgooddrums.com, and I will catch you next time.